Scott just made the point.
Thomas Jefferson, you'll
seems to be a lot more secure, not just.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today a very trivial story to take us into a very serious discussion. Now, this man is Peter Tatchell. He looks like and is a lifelong civil rights activist, and needless to say, what we would call here in America a big old liberal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And Peter Tatchell has a problem. Apparently, Peter Tatchell has been slandered because, according to him, it's been remarks made by student leader Fran Cowling, who's called him a racist and transphobic. Peter Tatchell. Yes, the same Peter Tatchell that claims in the article to have defended every anti-racist and pro-gender campaign during his entire half-century of human rights work. Now, if you think this is the issue for today, it's not. So let's bring in Steve Green and Scott Ott to get to the story below this story. Gentlemen, this is just a little spat in a strange and foreign land called Britain. It's beneath the dignity of the trifecta team, of course, to meddle in foreign affairs if a clear national security interest is not at stake. But there are two things about this that are interesting and worrisome. So, Steve, let's start with you. Now, Peter says Fran is calling him a racist and transphobic when he assures us that he is not. But I wonder how many people he has accused of being racist and transphobic over the years who weren't. I wonder how he feels about being called a racist and having that low, mean, baseless slur on you from someone who dares to have a different policy position from these social justice weenies and crybabies. Do you think this is getting a bit of a taste of their own medicine?
Oh, Bill, there is so much Freude up in my Schaden right now. I could swim in it. I really could. You know, there might even be an even deeper issue here. You know, in free market capitalism, it's easy to pick out the winners or the losers. There are the businesses that can sell their product or perform their service at a profit. This is a pretty easy thing to measure. When you're in a math class, your grades are also a pretty good measure of your actual knowledge and performance, because you either solved the problem correctly or you didn't. And that's how it works. In the world of engineering, the bridge stays up or the bridge collapses with a bunch of cars on it. These are practical fields in which, with practical, real-world, measurable results. But in the world of identity politics, there's no mathematical correct answer. There are no profit and loss statements. The only thing you have is what's called virtue signaling, saying the right things to the right people at the right time. And when it comes to virtue signaling, the only way to prove that you're better than the other guy is to signal your virtue even bigger than that other guy, even if he's on your side. And so you start off by picking on the KKK, who deserve this stuff, and the Jim Crow laws, which deserve to be repealed. But you keep having to get more and more further over and over onto the other side, until the guy you're picking on isn't just a small businessman and a Republican. He's not an actual racist anymore. He's not even your neighbor. He's the Trotskyite nut job who's just slightly less to the left than you are. And I say, gosh, it's so sad to watch these people eat their own.
Yeah, it's asymptotic, this grievance thing. Well, Scott, we're seeing this everywhere now.
That's the word, perfect word.
Yep. We're seeing this everywhere now, all over American campuses. The graying left-wing professors are being targeted for their intolerance and privilege, the very things that they were fighting against, by these monsters that they themselves created. So, Scotty, is the end frame of this horrible, despicable, wicked cult of victimization going to be one black, transgendered, handy-capable, lesbian, Palestinian eco-warrior standing atop a pyramid of human skulls?
Well, I'm afraid there is no end game for this, because this whole politics of exclusion, which they've been teaching for decades now, is going just to continue on ad infinitum. The idea that instead of engaging people who disagree with you, or engaging people who engage in what you consider to be offensive speech, and saying, I want to talk to you about that. I want to see if I can persuade you to change your point of view. I'd prefer if you didn't talk that way, and here are the reasons why. Instead of doing that, their strategy is shut them up, shut them down, throw them out. And so this guy is part of the training Jedi force that's been preparing these young Jedi to do that. And so they show up and they say, hey, now it's your turn, Buster. And, you know, I can't help but think of sort of the hippies in the 1960s who were annoying their parents by cranking up their horrible music really loud, who are now, you know, trying to hide in their own bedrooms and cursing the damned music of their children. I mean, you're the ones who started this pattern, and inevitably it's going to come back to bite you. And the antidote, as Stephen Green has often pointed out, quoting someone who I'm sure who is very famous, is that the antidote to bad speech is more speech. And once these alleged academics learn this, I think they'll be less likely to be cast out of the universities which they've built with their own bare hands.
Very well said. Now, this is a little lesson for you Bernie supporters out there, and for those, especially those left-wing teachers who've been creating these monsters that are out there, because you should know better than this. Collectivists, that's the difference between us and you. We call Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, I don't care. It's collectivists versus individualists all throughout at least the last century and into this one. Collectivists always eat their own. Hitler could never have come to power without the SA that was run by Ernst Röhm, and Gregor Strasser was one of the most brilliant people that made the Northern Nazi Party hold together during those critical years. And as soon as he became chancellor, he had them both shot. Stalin could never have gotten where he was. He was a third-rate apparatchik who held up banks. And when he came to power, Bukharin and all the rest of them, Zinoviev, old Bolsheviks they were called. We walked with Lenin. We were friends with Lenin. Up against the wall with you, you're no longer useful to us. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. The French Revolution. Robespierre was launching this river of blood until it came time for his time, and then he was put on the guillotine. He tried to kill himself, jump out of a window, or shoot himself in the head or something. They chopped his head off too. Now, who does all the chopping and all the shooting and all the killing and all the hanging? Well, it turns out it's always their own children. It's the young ones who were raised from birth in this philosophy, not people who came to it and came to power. The young socialist pioneers, you know, the Hitler Youth, the Cultural Revolution. These collectivists always do the same thing, and they always do it the same way. So when you want to know why people like us get a little hysterical when we start hearing that a socialist is running for president of the United States, now you know. For PJTV, Steve Green, Scott Ott, and the rest of the Trifecta crew, I'm Bill Woodall.